Welcome back to another reading and correcting. With me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. And if you want to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 15 of A Series of Death. The enforcers gave Marlot space as he stormed through the precinct. It could have been the snarl on his face, caused by a mix of pain and anger, or the terror scent from the moose he dragged along. He crossed the room, barely pausing to look at the screen showing the inside of interrogation rooms, and continued to the closest empty one. He forced the moose into the chair and slammed the door shut, making him jump. Marlot plopped down in the facing chair and studied the moose. The meal was good. He had to give him that. He looked scared, acted scared, even smelled scared. Marlot hadn't thought anyone could fool him after passing his cross-species sense recognition class. You can drop the act, Marlot said. It's just the two of us. The moose didn't. He glanced at the door, eyes remaining wide, pupils large. Maybe he kept up the act because of the camera. Marlot didn't care. He'd get his answers. Radima vicious, he said, placing his pad on the table between them, her picture on it. 35, unmated. Supervisor at Pelt Construction. Did you know her? The moose shake of the head was almost imperceptible. At least he was done acting so scared to cooperate. Why her then? The moose expression was uncomprehending. Why did you pick her? Marlot elaborated, feeling like an idiot for explaining when the male was the one playing him. What was it about her? Did you have an altercation? Did she feel threatening to you? She was a predator, after all. They all were, he added, watching for the moose's reaction. Confusion. He swallowed. She stalked me. Like I said, she was a predator. We do that. Why am I here? The moose looked around, almost as if he was only now realizing he was in an interrogation room. Was he going to try to play the victim? You know why you're here, Marlot stated. Why did you run? He demanded. She stalked me. I didn't want to die. After you killed her. The moose jumped. You ran after her. You ran after you killed her. You. His eyes grew wide again, pupil dilating to the point no color was left. You're a predator. I didn't want you to eat me. If I was going to eat you, Marlot snarled, we wouldn't be here. I didn't know that. The moose was up, chair clattering. He looked around, searching for some escape. Marlot used his curiosity at trying to figure out how the male did it to keep from standing, from growling. He left him to pace. How did he smell scared? How did he act like he was about to charge the door in an attempt to break through it? The antlers had withstood hitting a brick wall, so maybe he could. Sit down. The moose kept pacing. The ear flick indicating he'd heard him, that he was ignoring him. A show of force? That he wouldn't be ordered around? Was that hunter behavior? Ruxel had been headstrong. He certainly had made sure they knew he couldn't be ordered into anything, but he couldn't remember reading anything about that kind of behavior. It must have something to do with the fact hunters weren't usually brought in for questioning. They ended up dead, and the psychologist could only look at what they had done and extrapolate. Were they broken from birth? Was it a defect that occurred after an accident? Was it whim? I said sit down! The moose jumped, a perfect scare response, looked for an escape again before regaining just enough control to pick the chair and sit. You ran because you think you aren't done, Marlot said. Every text on people like you says that. You have something to do. That's part of what drives you. You're acting scared now because you hope I'll think you really are some innocent prey caught up in something they can't understand. Maybe the fear's real. After all, I doubt you planned on being caught. Maybe that's how it seems so real. Marlot smiled. That's it, isn't it? You're scared because you're in a situation where you had to react and everything has been thrown out of your control. You people love control, don't you? The moose stared at him, the fear growing thicker in the room. Marlot grinned at him and leaned back in his chair. Let me tell you what happened. You'd planned to keep already in our house like the others, but you didn't realize it had been a while since she'd hunted. She was out of food. You figured, okay, no big deal. Kill her while she hunts, bring her back, same as before by the time I show up, right? You took her down a badger already. Just how much tougher can a wolverine be? You didn't realize you didn't realize I'd figured out you were just mailing me the cards using the envelope from the Revenue Bureau. That I'd give up wasting time with them and go to her house immediately. I'll give you that. It I never noticed you there. The moose had the gall to still act confused, but Marlowe swallowed his anger. He wasn't done. There was more he needed to know. Then he could end this. The recording would show Trembor he'd done this the right way. Why send me the cards? Why goad me into looking into this? What did I ever do to you? He growled. Did you want to brag? What? You're better than we are because you took down 10 of us before I caught you? Do you think we believe we're immune to predation and had to be reminded of no one's safe? Well, I have news for you. We know. We know the slightest mistake means we can become someone else's meal. Absolutely no one is above predation. The moose stared at him, shaking, ready to bolt, looking ready to bolt. Marlot reminded himself. He ground his teeth. He was so done with this act of his. He slammed a hand on the metal table. Why? He yelled. The moose was up, chair hitting the wall, him in the corner, back against the wall. This time Marlowe stood too. Why the fuck did you drag me into this sick game of yours? He screamed, hand on the table, making sure not to move, because he didn't trust himself not to rip that male's throat open before he had his answers. What did I ever do to you? I know I never gloated. I didn't stalk you, so why the fuck me? The moose shook, and part of Marlowe realized that to anyone looking, it would look like he was the aggressor. Even the scent would support it. He was raging. The moose was terrified. Marlowe didn't let that stop him. This only worked if he didn't break the moose. Once he got him to admit why he was doing all this would make sense. Why are you killing predators and leaving them to rot? He yelled. What did we ever do to you? The moose's breathing became hard. Was he ever hyperventilating? How long could he maintain that? If he fell unconscious, all that there would be was the recording, the one that showed how out of control Marlot was. He swallowed his anger and stepped away from the table, keeping it between them like he'd do with someone he wanted to feel safe. From where he stood, he noticed the camera, its angle, the corner the moose was in. Had he planned it? He let out a breath, did his best to ignore the fierce smell, telling him the moose was ripe to become meat. You're in the camera's blind spot, he said softly. He didn't care how good the male was. There was no way he knew how the interrogation rooms were set up in their entirety. If you keep your voice low, it won't hear what you say. Just tell me why you did it. I don't care about bringing you to justice. Tell me and you walk out of here. I'll tell them I had the wrong male. You can even go back to taunting me. The moose whimpered. Marlot leaned in. He'd finally have it. I didn't. No! Marlot let the table stop him. Don't you fucking pull that on me. Wolverine, coyote, jaguar, badger, tiger, bear, leopard, wolf, cougar. Those are the predators you killed and left to rot. You're going to tell me why I am going to gut you. Have there been others? Did you torment some other RI, or am I special? The moose slid down, crying. Marlowe jumped the table. You don't fucking get to do this. He grabbed him by the collar and pulled him up, the pain flaring, but his anger keeping it in check. You killed all of them. You don't get to play prey and make me the monster. If you want this to end, you tell me why. Then I'll eat you and end this properly. Talk! The moose's eye rolled back in his head. Marlowe slammed him against the wall. Don't you fucking try it. I know it's an act. The door slammed open. What the fuck are you doing? Bahamel yelled. He ignored her, growling at the moose. He wasn't getting out of this. He was going to talk. A hand grabbed Marlowe by the back of the jacket and pulled him away. Hard enough, his feet left the ground. You're coming with me to my office and explaining yourself, wolf. And this concludes chapter 15 of a series of death. If you're enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter is going to be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read the story as well as the other books in the series, they are available at all major e-retailer. If you want a different way to support me, that is my Patreon, where you can also get just about everything I've written. And if you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. The links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.